Hello everyone and welcome to Top 10 Evolution. It's been a while, but today I wanted to take a look at 15 games on the PS5 that can run at a 120 FPS. A small disclaimer, all games on this list can achieve 120 FPS on the PS5, give or take a few graphical losses, meaning certain games on this list will achieve 120 FPS by running at a lower nitty resolution and being upscaled, or running at a higher nitty resolution and being downscaled. And there's also other games that can easily do 1440p at 120 FPS and even like 4K at 120 FPS. So keep that in mind. And with that all said, let's get into the video. Oh, one more thing. I don't think any of these games are exclusively to the PS5, so keep that in mind. But these games can be played at a 120 FPS, and that's the main focus of this video. Let's get into it. Starting off this list with a game I have played and replayed a countless amount of time on a few different platforms, being the PS4 and the PS5, and even more recently the PC. The game I'm talking about, as you've seen on your screen, is the one and only Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, and the game you're seeing on your screen is Uncharted 4, a game that is a part of this collection, and the other game being the Uncharted Lost Legacy. These games were both remastered for the PS5 and the PC, which these games are like beautiful games before they're remastered, so just imagine how much better this game looks. The colors are pretty much vibrant, the environment just pops out, and the nature, it really shines in both of these games. And like the game is like totally smoother, the actions, they come off like so smooth. And the game also has better animation, the characters are just well done. And if I was to recommend which game to play first, I recommend Uncharted 4: A Thief Ends, since the game basically came out before Lost Legacy, and hey, let's be honest, it's the better of the two games. But don't get me wrong, the Lost Legacy isn't a terrible game, it's just not as good as its predecessor. Well, however, the games, they both run at 120 FPS on the PS5 at 1440p. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection is an adventure shooter platform puzzle game developed by Naughty Dog alongside Iron Galaxy Studios and was published by PlayStation, released on January 28, 2022. Next up is a game on this list that's probably the least popular game on this list, but that doesn't mean it doesn't offer one of the best 120 FPS gaming experiences on the PS5. This game I'm speaking of is Dirt 5. The Dirt series for me, well, they've always been fun because of how much fun it cannot be. That doesn't make sense, I know. But in my terms, the game was so challenging that for me, placing even like third or second or fourth or getting a good time was an achievement I could boast about among friends. This game was like differently difficult and complex than like the racing games we're used to. Like Need for Speed, like those games are like a lot easier than this one. This one requires more precision and timing. So it's always been a game I played when I'm looking for a challenge. And with every new releases, well, this game somehow continued to be difficult. But it's still a fun game to play, and Dirt 5 is no exception. The whole genre specializes in off-road racing with a lot of amazing dirt tracks and different variation of vehicles, all catering to the dirt. The game also features a career mode if you're in for like a more immersive experience, or maybe you are the type of person that would willing to like challenge your friend. You can also do that with the Dirt 5 local split screen co-op that supports up to 4 players, or you could just compete online. There's like a lot this game offers, so you can't really be bored playing this game. And it also offers 1440p at 120 FPS on the PS5. Dirt 5 is a racing simulation sports game developed by Codemasters and published by also Codemasters, alongside with EA. Dirt 5 was released on November 6, 2020, but was released for the PS5 on November 12, 2020. That's when the PS5 launched, so at launch. Next up is a game that kind of shook me. Like, I've been covering this game from its announcement, and I was always like, yeah, it looks cool and all, but I just felt like it wasn't gonna be all that fun, and to my surprise, it actually kind of was. I really enjoyed my time playing this game, and you're probably saying, why are you having so much good things to say about this game? Hey, it's a top 15 video. Of course I'm gonna have high things to say. I'm gonna speak highly of these games. They made it in a very good list. I think it's a good list. So yeah, I'm gonna speak highly of these games. And plus, this game really deserved it. It's actually like a really good game. Like visually speaking, this game had no reason to look this good and feel as smooth as it did. This game blew the combat out of the water. It was executed brilliantly. Even though certain attacks can become more repetitive, it really didn't matter. I had such of a big effect on the game for me, since you could change up your attacks with pretty much different hand gestures used to cast magical spells or just spells, whatever they are. Like this game was just super well done. Even though like the graphics for the magic just like being emitted from his hand had me like, holy shit, this looks so good. The only small issue for me was the story. The story wasn't bad, but it wasn't the greatest. It was pretty good, but I would say like okay, but it wasn't like amazing, but it's still enjoyable and I liked it. And I think this game is definitely fun. I do recommend giving it a try on the PS5. Although I think this game wasn't like really optimized as good as it could have been for the PS5, because the game like the frame rate is like from 90 to 120 FPS on the high frame rate performance mode on the PS5, but it still runs at 120 FPS at a certain amount of time, like depending on the scene, but it works. Ghostwire Tokyo is an action-adventure role-playing single-player fighting game developed by Tango Gameworks and published by Bethesda Softworks, released on March 25th, 2022. Now moving on to our next game, Bright Memory Infinite. This game is a definition of shouldn't be as good as it was, especially since the whole series was made by a sole single person. Just really impressive. But the Bright Memory Infinite takes the first game, like what that first game had, and improved on it in ways that was just mind blowing. The fast paced combat, the swordplay, the enemies, the design, the weather, the guns effect, the game environment, it's just really special and unique in the futuristic like style. And this game taking place in the like futuristic fictional world in the year 2036. The game has a mix of like supernatural enemies as well as the normal bad guys that we can like we love them so much. We don't, but they're there. And I think that set this game apart from many other games isn't just the visual, but also the fast-paced combat and the weapons and the gadget. This game is probably has one of the best weapons to weapons design I have ever seen in a long while. It really nailed the futuristic part, and also the bosses are pretty well designed and have their own unique attacks and design, even special weapons and abilities, just as the main character has her own, which is quite impressive as well, with the swift movements and the power augments, allowing her to pull and push enemy away. This game was really well done. I can't stop saying that. I think like it didn't even get the attention it really deserved. So you can go ahead and give this game some attention if you haven't done so already. And you'll be able to do that at a 120 FPS on the PS5 at 1440p, give or take a few frame drops on the PS5 side. Bright Memory Infinite is a first-person, fast-paced action-adventure fighting game developed by FYQD Studios and published by FYQD Studios and Playism. Released initially on November 11, 2021, but was released on July 20, 2022 for the PS5. It is a game I'll just play to pass time. I mean, just to have some casual fun. You know, like when you're waiting for a female to get ready and 5 minutes turns into 30 minutes. But thanks to this game, I have something to do whilst waiting. And this game is Doom Eternal. And hey, don't get me wrong, this game is super difficult. And it has like super difficult modes. And in no way is this a casual game. Well, it depends on the type of gamer you are. I just set the game on normal difficulty and just say, hey, I'ma just slay some demons with Doom Guy, and it's always fun and entertaining with the combo kills and the chainsaw just ripping those demons into half with the gore just being done to perfection. I even like prefer to use like melee than use like bullets because of how good the melee animation is on this game, and the graphics isn't bad at all, especially if you're gaming at a high quality like at 1440p or 4K with a high frame rate. It just really feels different, and the campaign was pretty good. Even though I doubt anyone really played the game for its story, I think it's always been for the combat from like the starting back in the 90s, and ain't much changed since then. The combat is still this game main attraction, and for a very good reason, as it keeps on delivering with each game, and the game is also managing to deliver 120 FPS at 1584p on the PS5. Doom Eternal is a first-person shooter platform action adventure game developed by ID Software and published by Bethesda Softworks. The game was originally released on March 20, 2020, but the PS5 version was released on June 29, 2021. Next up is a game that was really popular when it was first released, and for good reason. The Borderlands 3 is the game we are talking about. And pretty much like its predecessor, this game was amazing. But hey, you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And yeah, there was definitely a few changes in addition to the game. But it was a new game in the series, and well, that was expected at the time. Plus the additional characters were crazy. They were all amazing. I love each and every one. Amara was my fave though, but if the game character wasn't enough, the game features a whopping 1 billion different guns and different guns variant, some guns being good and some absolutely trash. And whilst there were some decent ones and some that was just like amazing, and with the type of like characters, abilities, and skill, and even some characters having their own partner slash special ability that I really like. The various different locations on Pandora was also like really interesting, and the enemies, they were good as well. The bosses were a ton of fun, including the dialogue and like the smart comments that they made. The game is a looter shooter, so you could literally like spend hours collecting loot or trying to get the best loot before you even get anywhere in the game, or you could just ignore the looting and get to, well, the shooting. It's all about how you want to play, but regardless of how you play, Borderlands 3, I can promise you'll have a good time, especially with the different characters and the game story. The game can be played at 120 FPS at 1080p on the PS5. Borderlands 3 is a looter shooter action adventure fighting game developed by Gearbox and published by 2K. The game was originally released on September 13, 2019, and was available for the PS5 at launch on November 12, 2020. The next game is the second and the last racing game on this list, but this game had to be on this list because this game is just so much fun, especially cause it's relatively a new title. The game I'm talking about is F1 23, a game I'm still having fun with, although the game hasn't made a lot of improvements from its predecessor, but there's definitely been some improvements, especially to the gameplay. Or maybe that's just me, but I feel like this new entry, it just plays a lot better than its predecessor, especially when it comes to controlling the car. It definitely feels a lot more responsive, and the driving is definitely a bit smoother. It's still the same F1 series, so if you love the previous entries, you're gonna love this one even more. The game also is a continuation, or has a continuation of the previous story mode, so we know how Breaking Point too. There's also new Las Vegas and Qatar tracks, and also a new hub called the F1 World, which also shows world ranking in multiplayer mode, so you can know where you rank in the world with F1 23 best racers. I know where I am, straight at the bottom of the list, but hey, you know what's not at the bottom of the list? The PS5 when it comes around this game, as it does so at a 120 FPS, which it does at 1440p. But the internal resolution might be scaled down to 720p in certain situations, so yeah, look out for that one. F1 23 is a racing simulation multiplayer sports game developed by Codemasters and published by Electronic Arts, released on June 15, 2023. Next up is a game I spent like months playing and did pretty good until I got up in ranks and, well, it started getting difficult and started getting my ass whooped. In other words, skill issue. Yeah, but I definitely had a ton of fun playing this game, and I definitely abused D.Va. She's D.Va. I just call it D.Va. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but I just went with D.Va. She was definitely OP, and I had I had some like fun with that character. I was just like blasting the enemies, and I would just dip, and I would spin the block again, take some more life, dip, and spin on the ops block again, and just dip again until the enemies got tired and clipped my ass. But it was fun. I definitely used D.Va as a cheat code, or DVA. I'm just calling it D.Va. And it works like magic, but honestly, Overwatch 2 is an amazing game. Plus, it's free. So if you haven't given it a try, you need to do so ASAP, like right after this video. wait until the video is finished first, then you can go and play. Then you can go and spin on Overwatch 2 block. My block is where the party is at right now, so yeah, you gotta continue to the end of the video. But yeah, Overwatch 2 is totally fun. It's a fun time, especially like it's quite friendly to new players because of the ranking system. It was honestly like it was great. It worked for me like perfectly until, as I said, I began to like walk in big boys territory and getting my ass whooped. But it's definitely a good game, and with enough dedication, even a new player can go pro. With Overwatch 2, it's just a ton of fun. Honestly, I would keep on like saying that forever because it's the most fun I had in a video game in recent times. And it's even better on the PS5 with 120 FPS at a 1440p resolution. Overwatch 2 is a multiplayer first-person shooter, free-to-play game developed and published by Blizzard Entertainment. Overwatch 2 was released on October 4th, 2022. Now moving on to a game I'm pretty sure everyone knew about since it was really popular when it was first released, and well, it was a really pretty amazing game, I can't lie. The game we're talking about is Resident Evil 2, the remake. This game was just mind-blowing seeing where it came from and how like the original game looked to how this one looks. It's just like day and night different, but the graphics was of course expected. It's decades apart and technology will definitely increase since then, but when this game was released I still thought the graphics was amazing, and I still do up to this day. And the voice acting was pretty good as well. The scenes, they were pretty much remodeled to like look like a different game, but it was still the same scenes, and if you played the old game you could like, oh, I remember this part from like my childhood. You could definitely see the scenes, but it was just like remodeled and done perfectly. And I always love like Claire and Leon's story, especially since you played as Leon in his rookie days, which is technically before the iconic Resident Evil 4, which we see like a more mature and experienced Leon. But this game is basically the begin for him in some kind of ways, like where he started. And that kind of made Leon one of my favorite Resident Evil characters. Easily after him, it's definitely Ethan Winter. I really like his story, and we also like got to watch his story kind of like give us a connection to the character. I think the Resident Evil games, they just know how to make you bond with those characters and watch them grow, and there's definitely something that I really like in the Resident Evil games. And you know what I also like is that the game can be like, let's say, run at 120 FPS at 4K, but it sometimes don't scale to 1440p depending on situation. Resident Evil 2 is an action adventure shooter survival horror puzzle game developed and published by Capcom. Originally released on January 25th, 2019, and was released for the PS5 on June 13, 2022. With its next generation upgrades. Next up is a game by the name of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I'm not even gonna lie and say this game is bad. It's just not all that good. But it's not. I'm sorry. I mean, it's still a great game in my opinion. It's just practically the worst Call of Duty game that was released in the last 5 years. But I don't know if that's the case. Why is it on the list? That's probably what many of you guys are asking. It's simple. It's a Call of Duty game, and it does what Call of Duty games does. And you feel that Call of Duty is somewhat going in a different direction. Call of Duty seems to be heading a little bit downhill, if you ask me. I mean, the best COD game in the last 5 years is definitely Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, and probably Cold War, which was pretty decent. But Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 isn't a bad game. It's just a Call of Duty game. The multiplayer is good, the maps and the guns are good. The campaign was actually kind of really good. I did enjoy it, but I feel like where this game flopped was in its multiplayer. But I feel this game should be given a chance, and you should definitely go and check it out. It's still the same like boots on the ground Call of Duty. It's just really not that innovative, so just don't expect anything you wouldn't expect from like previous CODs. And this game, well, it should be fun, especially since it can be played at 120 FPS at 1440p. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is a multiplayer shooter action adventure game developed by Infinity Ward and published by Activision, released on October 28, 2022. Now, this game is a bit tricky. It's also a Call of Duty title, but see, the thing is, with Call of Duty Warzone, the thing that always had me playing or coming back to the game was Rebirth Island. It was crazy fun, whether with friends or just playing by yourself with a bunch of random teammates in a random squad. It really didn't matter because you could learn and adapt. Like, you die and you come back, you approach things differently. That was one of the things that I really enjoyed back then. And in certain cases, I would even get victories a couple of times. And I'm just saying, I'm by no chance a hardcore Call of Duty player. Back in the days when M19 or MW19, Modern Warfare 19 was out, I was pretty decent. But when I started playing the original like Warzone, it was a bit hard, bit difficult. But with the release of Rebirth Island, it kind of fixed all that issue. I eventually got better at the game. However, I did stop playing Warzone when Rebirth Island was like completely like taken out of the game, and I went and I tried Warzone 2, even though it doesn't have a Rebirth Island, and it might never get that. Hopefully that's not the case, but developers seems to be more intent on releasing Rebirth Island for the COD mobile version of Warzone rather than Warzone 2. I really don't like that idea, but Warzone 2 is still fun, especially with the proximity chat. I've been having a lot of fun with that one. And it's okay, the vehicles, they're well designed. The weapons, well, they aren't the greatest, but they're okay. But what's special about this game is that it runs at 120 FPS at 1440p on the PS5. Call of Duty Warzone 2 is a shooter multiplayer free-to-play action-adventure game developed by Infinity Ward and Raven Software and published by Activision. Call of Duty Warzone 2 was released on November 16, 2022. Next up is a game that needs no introduction. Like, even a baby in his mother womb, but it's like, hey, heard someone talking about this game and be like, I can't wait to come out and give it a try. Like, come on. I don't think anyone looks at this game and be like, what video is that? They're like, oh, you're watching Fortnite or you're playing Fortnite. I'm actually pretty surprised like a lot of people still play this game because its viewership, well, it's been dropping like a lot, but I guess it's Fortnite. But the thing that I noticed, like every time Epic release a new season, the viewer floods to see if it's interesting, they're interested in the game. Then if it's like a season that's not worth watching, then the viewership just go down, or people just like don't play the game. I'm one of them people. I don't really play this game no more, but it's still Fortnite and it's been fun. But I haven't really had much fun with this game since like the Spider-Man season. I don't remember what season it was, but that was like the last one I had with this game. But the game is still like Fortnite. You can go ahead and give it a try. It's still fun. It's just like, I think it's falling off a little bit. I think Epic Games is definitely bringing this game to a very unnecessary grave, but don't get me wrong, the game is so fun, and if you're open to trying new things like every season, well, this game should be fun, and I do recommend playing it since it can be played at 120 FPS at 1440p, which still looks and feels amazing. Fortnite is a free-to-play third-person battle royale shooter action-adventure game developed and published by Epic Games, released on July 19, 2017 originally, and was available for the PS5 at launch on November 12, 2020. Next up is probably the best looking game on this list, and it's definitely one of the best games on this list. The game I'm speaking of is Atomic Hearts. This game I've been following closely from its announcement like 5 years or so ago, and with each trailer this game just kept on looking better and better. And I know this video is about like playing game at high frame rates, but I really recommend at least playing 30 minutes of this game at 4K quality settings, just because the ray tracing in this game is to die for, literally. I can't count the amount of time I literally was killed by an enemy just for staring at them like, wow, you're like really well designed. And the robot was like, yo, what you looking at? And they wouldn't stop attacking me. They're like, yo, don't look at me, punch, don't look at me, punch, hit, punch. I'm be like, yo, chill out. It's like these robots should be called the SCP-096, aka the Shy Guy. But fun and jokes aside, this game is an amazing game, and my time playing it was quite fun. And like from the different weapons and the various way we could fight, like the weapon being like makeshift melee weapons and guns and all other like things, it was just really decent, and it's fun to use the weapons in this game, and the story mode was actually pretty good. And the different environment in this game was also fun and well designed, and the effects, the soundtrack was actually really well done in my opinion. And you know what else was well done with this game? The ability to play it at 120 FPS at 1440p on the PS5. Atomic Heart is a first-person shooter action adventure fighting game developed by Modefish and published by Focus Entertainment, released on February 21, 2023. Next up is Dying Light 2, and hey, this game was a lot of fun. Not as much fun as I had with its predecessor, but the game is still really good. The parkour was done to perfection, and let's just say parkour is like this game main selling point, but who wouldn't want to run around and jump on like on dead like head, just jump on a zombie head, like just hop from the roof, just like whew, pump straight in a zombie head. But no, seriously, I really enjoyed the parkour in this game, especially how realistic it felt. It kind of like gives you the feeling you can just like go outside, jump on your neighbor freaking rooftop, and just wait till they get home, and just like hop on their head, pretending they're like a zombie. But hey, don't do that. If you don't do that, definitely if you don't want to spend the rest of your life playing video games in prison, which is practically impossible. So let's just stick to doing that outside at your home and not inside in the prison cell. Like seriously, the game is still like a lot of fun. You can play, you don't have to do all that. And the graphics is pretty well done, as it's actually one of the best looking games like in 2022. And it's still very good looking up to now. And there's also like something to do with the main story, the side quests, and just like killing zombies. There's always something to do, and the game isn't boring. It's really fun. So what you're waiting for? Go ahead, give the game a try. And when you do, tell those zombies I'm the one that sent you. Just like this game can send itself over 100 FPS to 120 FPS at times, at a resolution of 1080p though. Dying Light 2 is an action adventure survival fighting game developed and published by Techland, released on February 4th, 2022. Now the final game on this list that is pretty much to me, and I'm pretty sure everyone else, is the best game on this list. That goes to God of War Ragnarok, a game and a series that lives up to its predecessors, even surpassing them if you ask me, both in graphical fidelities, which is expected, and overall gameplay. The God of War 2018 was one of the best games I have ever played back when it was released, and if it wasn't for Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out just a few months later, that game would have like been my best game for 2018. But you get the point. These new God of War games are really good, and the story and the soundtrack and the amazing characters, the combat, the dialogue, and even the side quests and lore in this game or these games is just amazing, you know. And speaking about God of War Ragnarok, that game, it just took what God of War 2018 had and just like doubled down on it, and practically delivered one of the best game experience I had in 2022. Even though the ending was a bit sad with Tor dying, and the way we saw the father and son duo just held their own, with help from friends of course, but the uniqueness of the bond between Atreus and Kratos is a bond you don't really see in video games, and you definitely see that bond breaks and rebuild itself in God of War Ragnarok. And Atreus is a teenager, and we all know what teenagers are. I mean, we were all once teenager once upon a time, and yeah, some of you guys are probably even still teenagers, but I definitely recommend going and giving this amazing game a try for yourself. And whilst you're doing so, make sure you do it at a 120 FPS, which runs at a resolution of 1440p. God of War Ragnarok is a single-player fighting action-adventure game developed by Santa Monica Studios and published by the Sony Interactive Entertainment. The game was released on November 9th, 2022. Well, that's it for the video. Definitely go ahead and leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe and peace out.